Hey guys, I'm Rachel and welcome back to Auxhart Gardening. This is our week 25 garden tour and the garden is finally not in transition anymore. We are fully into the fall/winter garden. Right now it looks a little barren, but there's a lot going on, I promise. The only real remnants of the summer garden are all these dead potted plants I've got around. So right here on the edge of the garden, Fava Beans probably look about the same to you guys, but in between the Fava Beans I have planted a row of onions. I got these from starts that I bought from, who was it? Dixondale Farms, that's it. And I got my starts from them last year, and I really like them as a company, but I'm not affiliated with them. And I think that their starts are pretty good. I know a lot of people use them. My onions last year did not get super big, and I don't think that's a problem of the starts. I think that was a problem of my soil not being super good for onions. Not to mention, I wasn't actually there for the last 2 months of their growth, so they didn't get watered or cared for really at all. So it's kind of a miracle that I had edible onions. So fava beans are here along the trellis, and then right here at the very edge I have planted a few lettuces. I thought most of them hadn't come up, but I'm starting to see little babies like this. And I thought, oh, those are the only two. But then I came in here and I saw this one, this cute little purple one. And then this might not be very obvious to people who don't see it all the time, but this is a spinach. Same as this. So its baby leaves are these really long, skinny ones. And then it starts coming in with these spinach looking leaves. I also have some started in little containers because I was pretty sure that most of them didn't sprout. I have some outside and I also have some inside now because so far have not seen any of the kale that I planted sprout. So I'm thinking I need to be a little bit more careful with that. Maybe some of you will find this interesting. I have started the process of clearing off this sidewalk. It is entirely covered in grass next to the garden, but hopefully over time I can kind of pull up this carpet of grass that has grown over the top of it and keep it clean. Alrighty, so right here in the middle we have 2 rows of brassicas and 1 cat. So this is the row that I just planted, I think maybe the day after I shot the last garden tour. And so this is where the eggplants were, and you can see the starts here are a lot smaller than these ones over here because they spent a lot longer in those little starter pots. And so additionally around them I have planted more onion starts, and this is similar to the idea with the garlic in this row. The idea is that even though the onions won't be ready until like June, which is after I will have had to replace these brassicas with whatever spring summer stuff I'm growing, that they will already be spaced out well enough for me to put in little baby plants. And then once these plants start taking off in like July, onions will be done and gone, and everybody will have shared the space effectively, hopefully. I've never done this before, but that's how I think it should end up working. Some of these starts are looking real pretty these days. You guys know I have a soft spot for anything purple, but they're all looking really nice and lush along this row. Pretty happy with that. And the garlic is just now starting to come up right here. And so this is all intermixed in between these plants, because again, the thing with garlic and onions is that they grow straight up. They don't like floof out the way a lot of other plants do. So they're not going to get in the way of the plants that they're planted near, as long as they have enough root space. And this lovely bushy row of root vegetables are my turnips. They have not been thinned yet, which I have been meaning to do, but they're starting to feel like solidly healthy plants instead of seedlings, which is really nice. And you can see some of the beet seedlings in this back row here. And then if you look a little further, there's sporadic carrots, which I saw a few more sprouted actually, which is weird because we haven't had any rain and I haven't done anything to help them sprout. So what I'm hoping is the next time we get a few days of rain in a row, some more of them will come up, but we'll see. I also want to show you guys these Rutabagas. These 4 I started indoors, and you can see they're starting to get a little thick, and they were leggy to start out with, that's why it's sticking up like this. This guy is a little less like that. I'm hoping that this is the start of them making their big roots. I have never successfully grown a rutabaga, even though I have tried a lot. So fingers crossed this year it turns out, but again, we'll just have to wait and see because I've never done this successfully before. I don't know what the signs I'm looking for are that it's going to actually be successful. So if we come back and take a look at the trellises, I'm pretty sure they look about the same as they did last week. Peas haven't grown very much, and that's probably just due to the cold and the fact that we have such little sunlight here every day. So they're gonna be taking their sweet time before they produce. I probably could have put them in earlier than I did. I just waited probably a little too long to take out the noodle beans that were on this trellis, and I probably could have planted these while the noodle beans were still there even sooner, but you know, I'm still getting the timing on these things, so of course it's going to be a little off sometimes. If you remember, I talked about planting random radishes everywhere, and I'm starting to see those really coming up pretty much everywhere that I expected them to come up. So that's nice. Now this last row of brassicas is actually looking the best. Again, these are the starts from the botanical gardens. I didn't start these myself. And we have Long Island Brussels sprouts and graffiti cauliflower. And additionally, I don't know if you guys can see, there's more garlic coming up in between all of these. You can see right along the edge there, garlic, 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 garlic. And also in between all of these little garlics coming up. So it won't be too long until these are very obvious on video. This is maybe the most precarious stage for these because they are visible. They've come up, which means I could hurt them if I step on them, but they are still even hard for me to see, so gotta be extra careful. Some of these are looking quite good. I can't remember ever having grown a brassica to be this big before. Even though it's pretty cold outside, I'm constantly coming through and pulling out weeds. This is the most common weed that I'm pulling out. Not quite sure what it is, but I have to be careful because right next to those weeds are my radishes, and sometimes they have their little outer leaves eaten off by slugs, so it's a little difficult to tell which is which unless you're being careful. All of these are radishes, and then this one is not. And how do you learn what the seedlings of what you're growing look like versus weeds? It is just experience. You could do a lot of Googling, but I find that seeing it for yourself is the most effective thing to do. So at first you're going to have a lot of seedlings and a lot of weeds, and it's going to be a while before you know the difference. But I know like all the seedlings that are in my garden, and I also know all the weeds that I'm normally finding in my garden at this point. But there's always new stuff, and sometimes I have to wait too, just to see, because gardening it's a lot of wait and see and learn for yourself. There's a lot that you can learn by watching someone like me, watching other people on YouTube, doing Google searches. but it's really no replacement for actually physically seeing it in your space, in your climate, and getting to know the things that are specific to you. This pretty kitty is not mine, but likes to hang out on my porch. I think she's deaf, actually, because sometimes she doesn't run away until she actually sees me. Just a quick update on the raised bed. I did put some of my onion starts in here. I actually had twice as many onion starts as I could physically plant in my space, so I gave some away to my mom, but some of them ended up in here. And I also wanted to show you guys these cilantro seedlings. They've looked about the same for the last 2 garden tours, and I wanted you guys to see that because, like I said, everything is growing so slow here at this time of year, and if you see stuff like this, you know that it's not like you're doing something wrong. It's just they're not getting that much sunlight or warmth. Alright guys, that is all from me today. I know these garden tours are shorter in the winter. That's because everything is changing so much slower, and there's less exciting new stuff to show you. But I still think it's important that you see how slow the progress is, just so you have a point of reference for your own gardens. Also, the sun is so weird and low in the sky these days. It's really hard to find a good time to come out here where it's not both freezing and the lighting is bad. So if that's bothering you, I apologize. And I will see you here next Wednesday for our next garden tour. Until then, I wish you guys all happy gardening. Kata, what you doing all the way up there? Tree cat. Don't get stuck.